welcome to the Gun Talk After Show. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll try to get to everybody. Every call from every listener, no matter what the issue or problem, is important to us. So stick around for a little while as we call Tom Gresham back to the microphone and let our hair down a little bit, along with a little help from our show producer, Jim Kinsey, who will offer some words of wisdom, and Gun Talk Tech extraordinaire Michael will be checking in. And now, once again, here's Tom.
All right, you are entering the after show zone, if you will. Lots of things going on. We'll be talking about, well, we got the crew all together. Hey, who do we have? We have Michael, you here?
I am.
Michael's here. Jim.
Yeah,
Jim, checking
Michael's 20 feet from the mic, but he's in. He's here.
He's here. He's just hollering across the room. How about Michelle?
I'm here, and my seat's well prepared.
I got nothing. You know, we're not going to talk about your seat today, Michelle. I just got to tell you, okay? As much as that is a tempting subject, or I was going to say target, but we're not going to go there either. So there you go. All right, the quote of the day is from our callers has to be, and the guy was saying, how do you get the Remington 740 to shoot well? He says, no, so the solution to that is you find somebody you hate and give him the rifle.
Yeah, nice.
So,
what are friends for?
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's so I used to say, what was that? Louis Grizzard, who got married and divorced several times. He said, I'm not going to get married anymore. I'm just going to find a woman I hate and give her a house.
Cut out the middleman.
Yeah, that's right. Just go straight to the end game there.
My future ex-wife.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's like when you tell somebody, I'm introducing, this is my first wife. She says, what do you mean? She says, well, you never know. And, so far on the show, what? I know. I wanted to ask you guys. I kind of sprung it on you. I read that piece by Neil Knox, the Belgian corporal. What were your thoughts?
It was emotional. It was stirring.
I had chills the whole time. Absolutely. It is very stirring. And it's what I think makes it hit home for me so much is I see a lot of these parallels happening around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The SS pulls these guys out of the house, machine guns the entire family. Father, wife,
baby even.
Father, mother, the twins, the older brother, and the little baby. I mean, just machine gun them all because they couldn't produce a gun that was on a piece of paper that they said they had registered. And so they're going to machine gun you. Now, they may not pull you out of the house. What they'll do is right now is they'll just kick in the doors and shoot you in the house and say that you are resisting arrest. But for anybody that isn't understanding where we are and what's going on in New York and in Connecticut, where they have these gun registration laws, in Colorado and in California, we are at the beginning of that, maybe beyond the beginning of that. So people say, well, you know, I don't know what I would do. I don't know what you're going to do either. I'm just going to tell you, this is the road. I'm giving you a look way down the road.
Now, do you honestly think that people don't see the parallels or believe the parallels, or it's a defense mechanism? They don't want to believe.
It's uncomfortable to believe. You know, it's like when you talk to people who are clueless when it comes to self-defense. They don't take any action. They don't make any preparations. They don't worry about where they're going. They just say, it'll be okay. I had a young couple in our house about 3 weeks ago, and they're on a nationwide tour, camping out of the back of their pickup, and are saying, well, you got to be careful where you're going. And this woman, she's 24, she says, well, you know, I can just tell by looking in somebody's eyes whether they mean me harm or not. I'm thinking, yeah, but by the time you can see their eyes, they've stuck a knife in you.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, what it is a defensive mechanism. Don't you see that in people? They don't want to think about it?
Yeah, because the reality is too stirring, too chilling.
And I think it's the same way with what's the government doing. Well, if I think about what's actually going on, that will frighten me, and I feel powerless, and I don't know that there's anything I can do about it. And if I do try to do something about it, it could put me at greater risk. So I'm not going to stand up. I'm not going to put my life, my liberty, my fortune. Oh, yeah, that was the founding fathers of the United States of America who did that.
Those guys, yeah.
Those guys who, if they had lost, they would all have been hung by the neck until dead.
Oh, yeah. Well, denial. It's not just a river in Egypt anymore.
There it is. Oh. Man alive. Okay. Let's see. We got callers, I know. I want to do David on 2. Let's get him in from Boyce, Louisiana. Hey, David.
Yeah, I was calling about the Fort Hood shooting.
Right.
And I contacted my new congressman about it through the GOA. You know, sent off an email talking about the Safe Military Bases Act, H.R. 3199.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wrote me back the other day and said it was, he felt that the recent shootings were tragic, but he said necessary steps should be taken to ensure they don't happen again. But he's a former service member, and he says rules governing the possession of firearms on the bases are in place, and the trained military police and security are best equipped to handle it.
You know,
Yeah, eventually.
that would be the same line of thinking that says we should not have concealed carry because we have the police.
Right.
You know what? You can say we shouldn't put any police officers in schools because we can always call for the police to come.
Right.
This is Congressman Vance McAllister from
That's
the 5th
correct.
Congressional District of Louisiana.
Yeah, the fifth. That's it.
Congressman McAllister needs an attitude adjustment. He needs a little bit of recalibration.
I believe so. Yeah, he's brand new. He's just, doing a, part tour. So he's going to be coming up for a re-election.
Well, take a look. I don't know when he's up for re-election. It's not this November, is it?
November. He's just got in for a few months. Since, the other one, retired.
Okay.
And,
well, I tell you what, I appreciate that info. I will, since I'm in Louisiana, I can spread that around. I'll make sure the Louisiana Shooters Association knows it, and then other people know it. And we'll ask Congressman Vance McAllister to come join us. We'll give him the invitation. Look, I appreciate that, David. Appreciate the info. It's and guys, I talked about this before. I've run into people who were military, and they say, "Well, yeah, I understand that's okay for the civilians, but for the military, no." It's a weird attitude I've run into before. I was in the military, so they have military police. Like, what? We don't understand they have military police? Of course they do. That's who came at the Navy Yard shooting. Too late. That's who came at Fort Hood. Twice. Too late. After people are getting killed.
What I don't understand is why is there any qualifier at all? Either you're a human being, you deserve a right to life and to protect yourself. What does it matter if you have a janitor's broom or a cop's badge? What does it matter?
It's a great point. Michelle, when you've talked to a gazillion people being in the retail business, people flowing through, and look, and I get it. There's a bell curve and everything, and some people are more qualified or less qualified. But at the same time, I was just wondering about your take, because you have a different perspective on this in terms of just people being able to carry guns for protection.
Well, I had said to Jim when we were off on a break that, we have mental illness on the streets everyday America,
Right.
So if mental illness is something that we all deal with, and consider the amount of people that are private citizens that have a CCW permit, we've fulfilled the obligations of training, we've fulfilled the obligations of age and appropriate paperwork to be able to do so. What's the difference of walking our streets versus walking the streets of a military base?
Well, it's a great point. It's like when they say, well, you can carry in town, but you can't carry on the campus. Well, why? Do I turn into a murderer the minute I step foot off the sidewalk onto a campus? What's the difference?
Well, and several callers that have called in today, were ex-military people that you had an opportunity to speak with, and they agree with the system as it is now, that it should be a gun-free zone.
Well, I think that might be, too, because some of these soldiers are coming into the situation that's always been the case in their career. They've never known, I wouldn't want to call it necessarily the freedom of, but the ability to protect themselves on base because it was done away before they enlisted. So,
well, and look, there's going to be that same group in the military as out of the military who think, no, I don't want to think about protecting myself because that's a scary thought. We have police, and we're going to depend upon them. It's the same line of thinking in the military or out. It's just, I don't want to think about the fact that we're not safe. So I'm going to put my fingers in my ears and go, no, I can't hear you.
It's hard to get that sand out of your hair after a while in your ears.
Yeah, for sticking your head in the ground. No kidding. Tell you what, I want to drop down and pick up Tim on line 3 out of Carson City, Nevada. Hey, Tim, appreciate you holding.
Hey, Tom, no, anytime. Hello to everybody there. You guys do a great job. You really make my Sundays a great pleasure. The reason I was calling is earlier in the show there was a guy that bought a brand new Glock pistol. It sounded like he took it right from the store, straight out to the range, and had several feeding malfunctions or ejection malfunctions on the weapon. And I remember I did the exact same thing. I recently bought a brand new SIG polymer SP2022 chambered 9mm. Went out to the range. It was my first SIG, and I was really excited about it. Had similar type of issues. And I called SIG, and they were very helpful. The first question out of the technician's mouth was, well, did you clean the weapon before you shot it? And it didn't appear to me that it needed any cleaning. I didn't do anything to it. He said, no, that gun has packing grease on it, and in order to get it to function correctly right out of the box, you need to clean it first, and that should take care of all your problems.
Did it?
And I just want... Unfortunately, and I feel horrible about it, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to get back out there to do it, but it just... I just wanted to see if that should be standard operating procedure for any, because normally I'm a revolver guy. I love my revolvers, and so this is generally not an issue. So it would just seem, should that just be the SOP to go ahead and, no matter what, clean that weapon before you take it out because of that issue?
I didn't, I thought about it briefly when we had a caller on. I thought about mentioning it for some reason I didn't. But yes, any gun you buy, you should clean before you shoot it, especially semi-autos. One of the things is, and Michelle, you sold a lot of guns through the years. Some guns come with a little bit more than a normal amount of grease packed in the spring area, in the slide where you're not going to see it. You would know that it's slowing things down, right?
Oh, that's very true, Tom. Absolutely.
So when you guys are selling guns, did you tell people, hey, clean this gun, or did you see any of that? Did you ever have experience with that?
Well, when people come in and they look at a firearm in the store, the first thing that they say is, oh, this has been used. Because obviously the firearm, company that sends it out tries it out first, and they just pack it up with the lube and grease and throw it in the box, and it's just basically a way to know that what they're sending out there functions. So, when we tell people, well, it's been fired at the company, but you still have a break-in period with your firearms.
Well, I want to caution anybody to just take these things as a rule. Look at your manufacturer's instructions, because there are certain manufacturers, like you said, that pack their guns with different kinds of grease. Also, Glock recommends, now I'm not an armorer, but they recommend you don't remove some of the grease that's inside the gun, most notably the copper coloring up underneath the slide rails, because that's a protectant. So they don't necessarily want you to go in and clean everything out of it. You do want to make sure you take a look at your manufacturer's specifications.
Well, and that's a point. Yeah, and I think that's a point, Tom, that you make a lot. There's some firearms that like to be run with a lot of oil, and there's some that need just a little bit of oil. But yes, you've got to get in there, and you've got to get the grease, and you've got to clean it well first. Also,
a gun just freshly made has burrs on it. It has, they're not perfectly finished. We would like to say, oh, these are just perfect. Well, they're not. If you want to spend $5,000 for your handgun, it's probably going to be pretty much finished out. But, and you mentioned, Michelle, breaking them in. That's what we're doing. When you break it in, you're actually getting parts to slide against each other, to rub, to burnish, to polish, to smooth out. And after 100, 200, 300 rounds, it should be shooting pretty well at that point. I don't know. What do you guys use as a kind of a guidelines? Now, a revolver I don't worry about so much, but on semi-auto, how many rounds would you want through it before you would use it for self-defense?
Well, look, it depends. Are you shooting, you said self-defense, so you want to make sure that not only your ball-nosed ammo, your full metal jacket runs through it properly, but whatever you choose as far as a carry ammo is reliable in that firearm. You could have two firearms that are identical, and one of them might not like the ammo you're putting through it.
Yeah, it's a good point. I want to fire several hundred rounds of practice ammo through it first, and then I want to shoot at least 20 to 40 rounds of my carry ammo to make sure that it cycles, because to your point, there's some like hollow point ammo there. The opening is so big it could actually hang up on the feed ramp.
Right.
So, I don't know, just a thought. I tell you what, let's do this. Let's take a quick break here, guys. William, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to you because I do want to hear what you have to say about the Brady Center. Of course, Brady Law has turned 20 years old. That's a dubious distinction for sure. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Hi, I'm Michael Bain. You know I hate cleaning guns, so anything that makes that job faster and easier is definitely a plus. And that's where bore tips come in. These reusable, lint-free cleaning swabs make cleaning a breeze. And the tighter-fitting bore tips do a better job on barrels than cotton mops or patches. Hey, it's a dirty job. Let bore tips help. To find a dealer, visit BoarTips.com.
The XDM 3.8 Compact from Springfield Armory is 2 guns in 1. Use as your concealed carry gun with a compact magazine and use the extended magazine for home defense. Carry 13 rounds of 9mm in the compact magazine and a whopping 19 rounds in the extended magazine. To see the entire family of Springfield Armory XDM pistols, go to SpringfieldArmory.com. That's SpringfieldArmory.com.
All right, we are back with you. I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's go straight to the phones. William's on line 1 out of Livermore, California. Hey, William.
First of all, I was able to tune in not until, you were just finishing up your story from, Neil?
Oh, yeah, Neil Knox.
Neil Knox, yeah. I heard the last part where the whole family got gunned down. And I'm a husband and father of 3 kids, and that, it hit real close to home. But I can't wait till the podcast comes out and I can tune in. I usually listen to that on Stitcher, and I can't wait to hear the whole story, because that's one of those things that it tears the heartstrings, but it also hits real close to home, because this has all happened before. It's not like we're treading new ground here.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're not treading new ground. We're not breaking ground here. This has happened before, not just once, not just in World War II. It's happened in many, many countries. Essentially, every place that they've had confiscation of guns, it's always been preceded by registration. You cannot confiscate guns until you register them. And people say, you're paranoid. Well, actually, no. When you have like 50 examples of it, and a great many of them are followed by these kind of murders, I don't think it's being paranoid. It's just being a student of history.
Think at it from the confiscation aspect, Tom, because you're going after people's guns. Can you knock down a bunch of doors and search every house top to bottom to get guns? Sure. But it's going to be a heck of a lot easier if you sure got a list you follow. I know this guy's got this, and this. Well, let's go find them.
Yeah, and if you want compliance, you just pull some out in the street and you shoot them, and everybody else complies.
Yeah, there you go. Persuasion.
Hey, William, let me ask you. Looks like you had a comment about the Brady Center.
Yeah, so my question is this, and I don't know much about them other than they started out as Handgun Control Inc. and all that kind of thing. Correct. So we know where they come from. We know what their platform is. Their numbers, as far as, say, Facebook. I follow them on Facebook because some gun radio guy suggested, hey, follow them so you know where the enemy's coming from. You know where the opposition's coming from.
Absolutely.
So I follow them. And you know what? They have about as many followers as some of the gun podcasters I listen to.
Yeah, there's not many of them.
Exactly. So why do we care what they say? And as from a gun person's point of view, I get it. We care what they say because the media cares what they say. But why does anybody care what they have to say? As far as a democratic society goes, there are far times more people who care about the NRA, who follow the NRA, who listen to you, for God's sake, over and above what these folks have to say. Why does anybody care what they have to say?
Well, it's a great question, and the reason is, and you said the reason, because the media pays attention to them. A friend of mine in the media was talking to another buddy who's in the general media, not a gun media guy. And my friend, it's actually Michael Bain. He asked his buddy, he says, well, look, if I'm not around, I know you call me if you have gun questions, but if I'm not around, who would you call about if you've got a gun question? The guy said, well, I'd call the Brady Center. And Michael said, well, why is that? He says, well, they'll give me the straight skinny. The media believes that the Brady Center is in the center. Okay, this is what you have to understand. They believe that the Brady Center is not anti-gun, that they are absolutely in the center. The NRA is way off to the side, a nutcase, but the Brady Center represents middle America, apple pie, everything else, and as such, the Brady Center has power because it can move the media. And that's the only reason, because you're right, they have no numbers to speak of. I don't know how many followers they have. I probably have as many as they do on Facebook, and they don't have very many members. And frankly, their impact is diminishing as Bloomberg picks up. So we'll see. But ultimately, that's it. And thanks, William. I appreciate the call. Guys, I've talked about this before. The battle is for public opinion. And anybody who can move the media can move public opinion, right?
Correct.
That's right.
That kind of brings us full circle back to the whole idea of the Truth Squad, which was born 15 plus years ago, which is okay, if the media won't listen to us directly, then we need an army of people who will go to the media and call them when they get it wrong. And a lot of times they're not lying. They're just getting it wrong because they don't know. They trust the Brady campaign. They've been told all their lives the NRA is crazy, nutcase, bigots, fascist, Nazi, fill in the blank, whatever you want. They hate them. So, that's where the Truth Squad comes in. I guess, let me just ask you guys, have you seen, and I think I have you seen a change in the media coverage of guns over the last few years?
Especially recently with this this most recent Fort Hood incident. Yes, you are seeing a lot more media personalities, commentators saying, why is this a gun-free zone? And they, like our guest said today, they never would have brought that up earlier.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great point. Even 2 years ago, forget 10 years ago, 2 years ago, you would not have the media calling and saying, well, should we do away with gun-free zones? In fact, much of the media wouldn't even know the term gun-free zones 5 years ago. Wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Well, this is obviously tragic, Tom, and there's you can't say, oh, here's the upside, or this is a good, but there is a positive in a twisted way that people this could be the threshold where people have had enough and said, this is, these people are protect us, they can't protect themselves. I'm pissed.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And you look at it and you go, it's like when you look at schools and you say, why would you require teachers to be helpless? Why would you require them to protect our children with nothing more than a clipboard against a guy with an AR when they're willing to take the training? They're smart enough, clearly, to take the training. They are able to take the training on their own on a volunteer basis. And they would, most importantly, I guess the bottom line, they would be there when something happens as opposed to letting it happen and then sending somebody in after the fact.
Well, what does that do to our morale for our armed forces, too, to say you're not important enough to us to be able to protect yourself while you're at home, but we're just going to ship you off to wherever and good luck? How does that help morale? How does that help recruitment? How does that help our sanctity and our sovereignty as a nation? I don't see how it does.
Yeah, and of course now the gun banners are using Fort Hood as a leverage. They're saying, well, if we just had more extensive background checks, that's the problem here. We need even more restrictions. Now look, guys, I have been doing this for 50 years. I've been following gun control, gun rights. Every time from the 1968 Gun Control Act on, they say, well, we passed all this, and that was really great, but of course it didn't work. But the only reason it didn't work is because we didn't have enough restrictions.
Didn't go far enough, yeah.
Didn't go far enough. It's like, I put a tourniquet on the guy, and that didn't work, so let's put one around his neck and tighten it up and see if that helps him.
That will stop the bleeding eventually.
Right.
Eventually, it will absolutely do that.
Well, if you ask yourself, if you do the same thing over and over and over and over again and expect a different result, what is that by definition?
Yeah, there you go. They call it insanity. But, they're saying they're not doing the same thing over and over again. They just haven't done enough. Ultimately, when you hang around this stuff a long time, you really do come to the conclusion that they do, in fact, truly want to ban the private ownership of guns.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I think it's the logic that if there aren't any guns, people can't shoot each other. Okay, fine, I get that argument. But you can't legislate criminal behavior, and they're not going to get rid of the guns. Unless
you're not going to get rid of suicides. You're not going to get rid of murders. What you are going to do is require that only the strong will prevail. A woman can't defend herself against a strong rapist. That's what gun control laws do. They say, okay, you have to die or you have to be raped in order for me to feel good about my political agenda. That's as callous as it can be. Yeah. There it is. All right, guys, we'll call it quits for this week, and we'll do it again next week. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask everybody, rededicate yourself to the Truth Squad. Get involved. Make sure that you're a member of the Truth Squad. You can go on the website, guntalk.com, and sign up. You'll get our monthly newsletter. But in the meantime, just every time you see a comment, every time somebody says something to you, you don't have to be aggressive. You don't get in people's faces, but make the point. You say, well, do you really think that gun-free zones make people behave, or do they just make it impossible for people to protect themselves and people have to wait until somebody shows up? Ask the question, get involved, make the pledge, be a part of the Truth Squad. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
Now, wasn't that fun? You'll probably want to join us again next week for the Gun Talk After Show. It comes up right after the radio broadcast right here. It's where Tom and some of the crew and staff stick around and let their hair down a little bit, doing what they do best, talking about guns. We'll see you right here next week.